power of attorney. I don't have that project came about because Ronn had wrote in his black and white composition books that he's been having ever since he was cheating in class in school, writing songs. And I remember them books with the songs too.
That's what I think I was telling you about.
That was in the '60s. He had saved all this story from about the power of attorney in books, and so he told me about it. And one day he came and gave me his book and said, "Look, this is what I'm looking at." I said, "Man, this is a movie." I gave my partner Jesse, he lived in Seattle, so I told him, "Take this book, man. Look through here. This is some stuff Ronn had, saved." He said he was on a plane on the way back home, and he started reading the book, and he couldn't put it down. And he developed the whole script from that.
It's now time for local legends past, present, and future on the 50 Plus One Production Network, sponsored by Perry Jenkins. I'm your guest host, Atlas X, and today we have local legend Ronn Jaimz. Ron, how you doing?
Fine. How are you?
I'm okay. I've heard a lot about you.
Thank you.
Talking to Perry, and there's so much about him, everyone out there listening, that we're going to have to do part 1 and part 2. This is a first right here on Local Legends Past, Present, and Future, our first candidate for a part 1 and a part 2. Ron, let's get right into it. Okay. You've been doing your music most of your life.
Yes.
All right.
Definitely.
And, we just had Dave Poe on the set not too long ago, and we've talked with Perry Jenkins himself and a few other artists. Where did it all start with you as far as what was your influence and how did you actually get into the music business?
Well, that goes way back. Before I even knew I wanted to even do this, my brother was a performer, a singer. He had a group called the Guy Tones, and they were like a doo-wop group, but heading to what we call now R&B. And I used to just watch him perform, like as far as in the house, they would do their rehearsals there. My dad acted as their manager, and I got stuck, just watching them. I thought it was amazing that the sounds that would come out of my brother's voice was really his. So naturally, I felt like I just had to find a way to do what I saw him doing. It just made me want to do it. So from a child sitting on the steps in the living room watching them rehearse, it just was one of those things where I just wanted to do what I saw.
So tell us a little bit about the group that your brother was in.
Well, they were called the Guy Tones.
Mm-hmm.
And they consisted, I think, of about 4 or 5 guys. One of them was a guitar player. Mm-hmm. But they were all, as a group, a unit, a self-contained unit. And they would go around and perform different places. They was even on television. Like back then, you had just Channel 12 was the station that would give opportunities to people like that. And we did get to see him on there. And then over time, he would perform at different venues, and I would go along because my dad, like I said, was the manager.
Right.
So I would ask him, maybe one day would you let me come up on the stage and try that? He looked at me like I was crazy. But over time, I got to the point where I really could sing a little bit.
Okay. Now, with that being said, Ron, you have your brother as an influence.
Yes.
All right. So when it came to singing, did you ever get any formal training, or is this just something that you were a natural and just picked up through your brother and other family members?
That's what it was. I kept seeing him, and every time the rehearsal would be over, I'd go grab me a brush or a broom or a mop, stand in the mirror and try to emulate what I saw and what I heard. So no, nobody trained me or anything like that. And I used to wonder, do I need training? And, hopefully it turned out the right way because I didn't never get it. But, the natural stuff that's in the family seemed to come through.
Great. So when you think back around that time, and as far as when your brother's coming up, and we just think about some of the history of music, I'll just name a few artists back then to maybe even up to now. If you think about someone like, let's say, a Stevie Wonder, or a James Brown, a Teddy Pendergraph, Luther Vandross, Usher, Boys to Men, different groups back then. Besides your brother, Albus, was there any musical artist, male or female, that maybe you aspired to be like, or influenced you at all?
Oh yeah. Well, for me, it was Smokey Robinson.
Mhm.
Be- One of the reasons was because I found out that he was also a songwriter. He was writing the songs, and that was another thing about my brother. He wrote songs too that he sang. I thought that was incredible. So any artist that I really got attracted to generally was writing some of their own music. So it kind of took me in a further direction than just being a singer itself.
Great. So at what point did you become a songwriter and producer yourself?
Well, if you want to get into that, I'll tell you this. I didn't know I was really going to be a songwriter. I just started writing lyrics because I heard songs and I was really trying to emulate what I saw my brother doing,
Mhm.
like I said before. And come to find out he wrote a lot of his songs. So I'm in class, supposedly learning all the time. I'm got a little tablet there, a little book, composition book, and I'm writing songs in the day, like
Mhm.
different lines, and then before you know it, they developed into songs. And I just would go to the next one. I would write maybe 3, 4 of those in a day.
Okay. So at that point, you're seeing your brothers, your father's the manager, you're actually going to the shows sometimes with them, all right? So when did you actually get a chance to perform? Was it with your brothers or did you do something solo at it? Approximately what age did you actually perform maybe your first song or get a verse in a song?
I think I must have been like maybe 15, 16, something like that, where he'd let me come up on the stage and sing a piece of a song. And that was it. I knew I was going to do that somehow. But my dad, being his manager, he had no time for that mess. He just was more focused on them as a group. And I just had to get it any place else I can get it, like go to talent shows or anything like that and try to get in that way. So it was down there around that time when I was about 15, 16.
Okay. So obviously at this point, you're writing your own songs. Ron, besides being a singer, do you play any instruments?
Well, I did become like a drummer. I said like a drummer.
Okay.
I was trying, and I didn't do too bad. I learned how to keep time because anytime like a set of drums would be sitting
Right.
like those are
Right over there
sitting
on the
right
set
there.
right now. Hmm.
Yeah. And nobody was playing them, I'd find my way over there and start messing around. And I ended up being a left-handed drummer,
Hmm.
but yet I'm right-handed because I would see the guy's hand over there doing that, and I'd go home and that's the way I learned how to play. So I learned it kind of backwards, but I did use that talent at some point.
Great. So eventually, you're out on your own.
Yes.
Okay. You fine tune your craft a little bit. All right.
Mm.
So tell me, when was the first time you actually had a show of your own? Okay.
Well, I'm trying to figure out when that I
Or did you work with anyone else? Like, did you form your own group or were you always solo?
I was always trying to sing anywhere I could get to sing something. People would, let me come in on their show and maybe sing a song. And that was all before I ended up finding my way to the group called United Image.
Right, right. And so, speaking of United Image, all right. So now, you've sort of fine tuned yourself a little bit, all
Yes.
right. And tell us about United Image. What type of group was it, and what was your role in United Image?
The group was a cover group. They were doing clubs and, bars and things like that. And I met a guy. No, I met a young lady, and she told me that her boyfriend was the bass player,
Hmm.
and and he was looking for a singer. So she set up a meeting between my girlfriend and her and this and the bass player. And he heard me. He wanted to see what I sound like. He said, "Yeah, they looking for a singer. They need a singer because one of the guys in the group was a police officer, and his schedule kept changing, and they had shows lined up, and they needed somebody that could be there for them. So he listened to me and then took me to the group, and they auditioned me and told me to go back upstairs. And they called me back downstairs and said, "You know what? We like you."
Okay. So now you're in a group. All
Mhm.
right. Are you a background singer, lead singer?
I was supposed to be a background singer because the guy who was the police officer,
Right.
he wasn't a lead singer.
Okay.
So that's what I thought I was going in to do. I was
Yes.
going to just be
Mhm.
a background singer. But because, as I said before, they had uh, jobs already lined up,
Yes.
they had to replace him because he wouldn't be available for all of the work that they
Mhm.
had and the rehearsals and stuff. So they said, "Well, all right, here's our songs. Let's see what you can do as far as getting in with the steps, the routine, the choreography."
Right.
I was like 2 left feet. So I couldn't dance. So they said, "Oh man, we got a dilemma. You know what? What do you know? What songs do you know?" And I was doing Smokey songs, Five Stair Steps, Stevie Wonder songs and stuff like that. And so they said, "Yeah, okay, okay, okay." So they said it's quicker for them to put routines to the songs that I do rather than fight to teach me the steps because I was 2 left feet. Because of that, I became the primary lead singer of that group where that never would have happened
Okay.
be- because they were all of the guys can sing.
Okay.
So maybe one guy would do the high voice and Eddie
Right.
Kendricks type stuff, and everybody else could do things. But it looked to the naked eye that I was the lead singer.
Got it. With that being said, when we think about the music industry, there's several ways to make money. Some groups are local groups.
Hmm.
Some groups get a chance to tour. Obviously, a lot of groups have aspirations to get a record deal. So
Hmm.
when it came to United Image,
Yes.
where were you based out of? Did you ever get signed to a record label? And where did you perform? Was it just locally, or did you get a chance to tour around?
We were basically a local group because we were a Philly group, but because of the way the business was at that time,
Mhm.
there were a lot of labels that were looking for artists from, maybe where we were from, but they were from somewhere else. So we ended up on getting a deal with Stax Records.
Okay. I remember Perry talking about Stax Records. They,
Yes.
for their existence, even though
Mhm.
it wasn't that long. But go ahead.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It was ironic that when I'm telling you about the United Image and me going through that and ended up on Stax, that when Perry got his opportunity with Stax, I didn't have nothing to do with that. So there was like Stax was in our blood now, seemed like. But yeah, we got to deal with them. And the song that we did was called Love's Creeping Up on Me. And it was a Philly group
Mhm.
with a Motown track,
Okay.
that song, on a Memphis label. So all three, John, you had the Memphis sound, the Philly
Yes.
sound, and the Stax sound, and we comprised that.
And of course, when you think about Memphis, you have Bill Street, and of
Hmm.
course BB King.
Yeah.
That's the home of BB. When you think
Hmm.
about Memphis.
Hmm.
All right. So, did you ever open up for any other artists with regards to United Image?
Gene Knight, Mr. Big Stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, you were telling me off camera. Eventually, you leave United Image.
Yes.
All right, and it changes its name to Double Exposure. I
Yes.
believe. What happened? Why did you leave?
Well, as a lot of people around that time, and probably still to this day, sometimes you find yourself in situations where you get in a little trouble. I found myself into some trouble and uh, ended up having to go away. And when that happened, the United Image had to continue because, like I said, was always a working group. We worked up and down the East Coast and everything. So when they found another lead singer, they replaced me and changed their name, which was a blessing for them because I was depressed.
Now, am I correct in saying that at this time you're Ron Akins?
Yes,
All right, so let's clarify that. At this time
yes,
with United Image,
yes.
you're Ron Akins.
Yes.
All right. So when we come back with more local legends, past, present, and future, we're going to talk about Ron Jaimz
Yes.
and Galaxy and Perry Jenkins. We'll be back with more local legends, past, present, and future, right after this.
Oh, that's on his phone over there.
I remember this.
New Orleans.
Mm.
I remember this tune.
And we were just settling in, and we had a conversation. I don't really remember what it was about at this point, but whatever happened in the conversation,
Jesse always
said something, and
long
five
videos.
sarcastic
Movies.
movies. Told her
That's
to
right.
write
Back
a
to
song with
basics.
that title.
Yeah.
And every time she hears it, she's always remember what she said.
He over here too.
And that's how the song.
Of course, behind them speakers.
Better you just let it all out.
This video, man.
I believe after the interview that a performance would enhance the whole podcast. So you could talk about what a artist done, the local legend done, and you're doing, but you can show them after he finished telling you about it. What have you done for me lately?
There you go. What have you done for me lately?
Welcome back to Local Legends, Past, Present, and Future on the 50+1 Production Network. Today's guest is Ron Jaimz, a.k.a. Ron Akins.
Yes.
And joining us on set is the legend himself, Perry Jenkins. Perry, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, brother.
Great to have you here, Perry. Perry, right before the break, I was talking with Ron, and he had just left United Image. And now Ron had joined a group called Galaxy, which you were a part of. And at this point, Ron, you were telling me it was Galaxy featuring Ron Akins.
Yes. Right.
So why don't you tell us about this? And is this where you met Perry at this time? Well, I know let me rephrase that question. You're related, but is this when you first started maybe performing? And let's just pick it up from right there.
Okay, well, what happened was I found this situation really odd how it happened. I connected with this producer. He wanted to do some music, but he didn't know what we were going to do with it. So we partnered with a writer, a songwriter, and he had some nice songs, and we would go in the studio and do them. Then all of a sudden, we realized that the music he was doing was almost like a rap type thing, and we wanted to develop the R&B stuff. That's what I wanted. So I said, "Well, listen, you hear these songs right here? That doesn't fit him. Let's try to do something with it as far as R&B." So he recorded some of it, and I called Perry on the phone, and I said, "Let me ask you something. They were working regular jobs, him and his brother, and I saw an opportunity to create a group. So I said, how about you and your brother coming down here where we are?" I was working on a movie set, doing extra work, and listen at this what I'm involved in right here. He came down. I think did you bring him too? I think you just came. Yeah, he came down to the set and we got to talking about it. I said, "Yeah, we could turn this into something else. Let's call it Galaxy." And we went with that. So because I was the guy who spearheaded it to put the deal together, we called it Galaxy featuring Ron Akins. And we had music coming out, one song first, and then we went in and developed the album around that one song. And that's how we got into that. It became Galaxy featuring Ron Akins.
So, Ron, with that being said, now you've got the group form.
Yes.
Perry's part of the group.
Mm-hmm.
Perry, how did you feel about being part of the group? And do you recall going out and performing? Was it local or did you guys tour around? What was happening now that you're with Galaxy?
Well, we was pretty excited about that. Me and my brother Kurt Jenkins. We was working at a construction in a nuclear power plant, and one morning we was going to go to work about 5 o'clock in the morning, and Ryan called me, and he was saying that we're going to be in the studio today, and you guys can audition if you want. So y'all if you do want to do that, don't go to work. So I talked to my brother. So all right, we went over to the studio, and they had a producer in there, Butch Ingram.
Okay.
So we was kind of like auditioning for us. They wanted to hear how we sound, me and my brother. Said, you guys good? Can you hear background. I mean, harmony good. Yeah, so we sung a couple of things in harmony and stuff. And I think Butch took a liking to it. And he was mainly wanting to do what Ryan do. It's like saying these guys need to be singing R&B instead of more of the rapping, stuff. So Lawrence Goodman was executive producer. Well, he owned Pop Art Records, and we went on from there. Made the first single, "We're Here to Rock You." Then we start playing on different TV shows, like Dancing on Air, and playing a lot of colleges and stuff. We opened up for the GQ at Cheney State one time, and but he spearheaded that whole thing for us,
All right.
Ryan.
Now, Ron, being that you're the leader of the group, all right, did you have a manager or were you sort of managing and also sort of the lead singer in the group?
No, I was just we were just a group,
Okay.
and basically the production end of it was handling all of the management and all that kind of stuff, booking.
So did Galaxy open up for anyone local? And then once again, this is based out of Philadelphia, correct?
Yes.
And or did you do any touring around the region?
We did a lot of things. So far back now, it's hard for me to recall all of it, but we had a good experience because of the fact that Butch Ingram was the producer, and he made what we did more legitimate because we were just coming out of nowhere.
Right.
And with him involved and his brothers, it was two families bonding together to make this sound. It was wonderful. We did shows everywhere. We did TV, you know, clubs.
Yeah, like we
all that
opened up
stuff.
for Jeffrey Osborne,
Oh,
Denise
okay.
Williams, a group out of New York called D Train,
Barbara
Pieces
Mason.
of a Dream.
Hmm.
All right. So we're going to take it to another. It's one thing, everything like you said, you opened up for some acts, performed somewhere, but we're going to take it even to another level. Perry, you were telling me about some type of street performances that were taking place that maybe you had something to do and Ron had something to do with. So tell me about the actual street performances.
Well, later on down the line, caught back up with Ron, and he was doing some street singing down in Center City. He was singing like down in the subways and stuff. Somebody had told me about it, so I went down to see what was going on.
Right.
So, and I've seen what he was doing was good, but you know, I don't know if you remember the conversation, but I said, look, if you're gonna do this here, you can't be out here looking like you just need some money to get some lunch or something like that. You got to make people think that you're doing them a favor by even being out here. So that means dressing up like you got it.
And that's a producer talking right there.
That's exactly what he did do.
So, Ron, tell me, what motivated you? Was it money? Like when you think about people who are performing, whether it's out in the city or sometime when you're down at the beach on a boardwalk, you'll see someone out there with their guitar and an amp, what it may be. And sometimes when I was in Center City, I saw some young ladies playing a violin. So, are you out there literally with a bucket looking for money and singing? And how did you even think about going out to perform on the streets?
It was something that I said I would never do. I used to see guys down there with their guitars, playing and putting a bucket out. I
Hmm.
said, how in the world can you just do that? How can you stand up there and sing and people just walk by, don't even pay you no mind? I'll never do nothing like that. One day I go downtown and I'm going through the subway and I seen this guy and he was singing. I mean, oh my goodness, he was so smooth and he was tuning the people out. He was in a show. He had that space for him. And he drew everybody in. Know how I know? Because he drew me in. I went over, put money there, and stayed there. And I was supposed to be going home. My lady waiting on me. And I'm an hour and a half, 2 hours later getting in, have to fuss with her and tell her, I seen this guy downtown. And he just made me stop. I couldn't help it. So that was when I said to myself, if I could figure out how to do that, I'm going to do it because I love to sing. We grew up. We just love to sing. It didn't even. It was never money. It was just the creativity of it, the love of it. And when you sing and you see what it does to people, people would tell me down there that, and I know it because it was therapeutic for me. So once I started doing it, people would come up to me and say, "Do you know what you do by doing this? You're helping people." So I wanted a piece of that feeling that he gave me. You know, I can't remember his name now. Oh, Riley, something. What his name was? Oh my God! So that let me know I could do it. But I went to him and I said, "How do you do this?" I'm looking at the equipment he had, his batteries all hooked up.
Right.
And one day I got some money and was walking down the street and walked by a store. He wasn't trying to tell me much. He was a nice guy, but he ain't want to tell me how to do that. So I walked by a store and I saw this amp in there. I walked in the store. I said, "Tell me something. What does this amp do?" And the guy said, "Oh, you can put a CD player on it and you can hook it up to a microphone." I said, "What? It has battery life?" He said, "Yeah." "How long?" He said, "About 12 hours." I ain't need no 12 hours. I only need about 2. So I buy this equipment, take it home, and never go out. My lady said, "I thought you said you were going to go downtown and try it." And I kept saying, "Oh, well, the guy over there, he said he's going to help me." She said, "No, no, I'm going to help you. Get that stuff. Let's go. We're going to go downtown." So I go downtown and I set it up where I saw him at once he was gone. So somebody knew him, told him that I was down there. And then he came down there and looked it over. I looked up and saw him. He was just observing it like. And the reason why he said what he said about if this is what you're going to do, because there were so many other people down there doing that, trying to do that. But what they looked like was that they were down there just to get some money.
Yeah.
And he wanted it to be more of, this is an artist giving you guys a treat. And he changed my whole way of thinking. I mean, if you see me right here today, I stick by that. These are the things I learned from him because he knew how to develop something from the ground up as he did here. Same thing. And he turned me into a performer.
Well, Perry, with that being said, so Ronn's out there. As Ron just said, you say, hey, let's enhance this look. All right. So now he's got a new image. He performs for some more. And eventually this leads to you producing the album Back to Basics. Right?
Yes.
And I know we have a couple songs in there. So let's talk about some of these songs. We know we have Hey Love, Sophisticated Lady, A Change is Coming, right?
Change is going to come.
A change is going to come. So tell me about some of these songs, Perry. And was it just you or was Jesse also involved in any of this?
Well, Jesse, I've had a production company back then called Most High Music,
Okay.
and I was mostly running the music part. Jesse was doing all the video. That's what he does, shooting videos and stuff. So we shot videos and stuff on Ronn, and then I said we're gonna develop a name when he was still out there in the street after he started dressing up with suits and all that stuff out there, and we just came up with the
The underground experience.
the underground experience because he was in the subway.
Okay.
So from there, I took him in the studio, and all the songs he was singing, the cover songs, we recorded them tracks and stuff, and he was singing, selling CDs and stuff. He's making money.
Okay. All
He's
right.
making money, and he did that for a while before we decided to go in the studio and do Back to Basics.
So Ron, so once again, being that you decided to go into the studio to do back to basics, what was the inspiration for doing Sophisticated Lady?
I think it was I had worked with this other I would call him he's a member of People's Choice.
Mhm.
And I used to go in the studio and work with him on some stuff. And we found these songs. These were songs that I had worked with him. So when I had like 3 songs when we started, I think. And when one of those songs was Sophisticated Lady, it was a guy who was a keyboard player who wrote songs too. So he told me I could use it. So when we developed our thing that we were going to do, I went back to the guy and said, "Look, can I use this song? Can I use that song?" And he said, "Sure, man, just go ahead, do what you're going to do." So we took those songs, we developed the album from those songs, the 3 songs that I brought from the other project that I was messing around with, and we put it together for our Back to Basics. But we didn't want to use the actual tracks that I had cut with them. We want to be fair, and
Re-recorded.
above board. We re-recorded those songs, and it turned out to be really a smart move.
All right. Now, with that being said, on Local Legends Past, Present, and Future, you're going to hear some names mentioned in multiple episodes. Perry, with that being said, you're behind the scenes, you're producing this track, but also local legend himself, who eventually will be a guest on the show. You have Bill Jolly, all right, has some. So tell us about how you're collaborating with Bill Jolly with regards to this Back to Basics.
Well, when we decided to do this the project on Ronn, I went to Bill Jolly, asked him to do the project because Bill Jolly, like I said, is a one-stop shop.
Mm-hmm.
He plays everything. You have to bring out no other musicians with you or nothing, and he's a great engineer too. And he also had one of his songs on Back to Basics called
Run for Your Life.
"Run for Your Life," which is pretty hot. Also, Dave Poe wrote a song on the album. Don't you know, right?
Don't you know?
Don't you
Yes.
know?
All right, so we've got Dave, who was just recently a guest on your show.
Mhm.
All right, and we obviously the legendary Bill Jolly. All right, so with this album, Back to Basics.
Yes.
All right, that you have here, are there any performances? Are you at this time you're still Ron Akins?
No.
Okay,
Ron-
so the transition has taken place.
yes, it
So
has.
now
taken
with Back
place.
to Basics, we actually have enter Ron Jaimz. All right, so Ron Jaimz is now on the set, and under the name of Ron Jaimz with Back to Basics, are we doing any touring? Are we doing any local performances? What's happening with Back to Basics?
Basically, it was a project that we really believed in. We took it as far as we could take it. The music was great, and the look, the sound, everything matched. That's the reason I wanted to do it with Perry, because Perry is very meticulous in how he didn't want nothing coming out of his production company that looked shabby and all this and that and the other. So I was the executive producer, so that meant I'm going to have to spend some money. We can't just do it with the cardboard backing and this and that and the other. He showed me the right way to do it, and I took him right wherever he wanted to go with it, as the executive producer. But he was the producer. I was co-producer. When we got in the studio, he gave me, some freedom to do some things, and wherever I needed help at, he was there to say, "Wait, let's try that." And it was a great working relationship, and it showed me a little more of myself. I learned a lot on that project, and I'm using that same thing today.
Now, Perry, when we're here in your home studio, and I can see the album CD right up there on your wall, right there, Back to Basics. Okay. So, with that being said, being that you are a producer, Perry, and for those who maybe didn't catch one of our other episodes, just tell us a couple other groups that maybe you've also produced.
I produced my uncle, which is his brother, who we was talking about in the beginning of the interview, Stanley Evans. He was in a gospel group with called Heaven Bound Gospel Singers, which was an a cappella group. Until I got with him, then I put music behind him, and also he's a heck of a writer too.
Okay.
I would write mostly all the title tracks because I did 3 CDs on them, and maybe 2 songs I would do on them, and my uncle Stanley Evans would write all the rest of their material.
Now, Perry, of course, when you and Ron started performing together at this point in Galaxy, this is an R&B type group at the time, funk group, okay? And obviously, eventually, you start producing Back to Basics. Perry, at what point had you sung any gospel at this point in your life, or this was still something to come while you're doing Back to Basics, and obviously you were doing R&B funk with, with Galaxy?
No, well, those like 2 different time periods. Galaxy came out in 1980.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, in 19 1998, I switched from R&B to gospel.
Okay, so that's when the change took place.
Right. So I've been singing gospel ever since, but I still was reaching out, doing stuff with Ronn. Ronn, his CD came out what?
84 or something.
No.
Back to
No, it's
basics.
2000,
Was it 3?
like it's 2016, I think it was.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so for back to basics.
Right.
All right, so this is relatively new.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So with that being said, here we are. You produced this song, and of course, for those who don't know, Perry Jenkins being an award-winning gospel songwriter himself. All right. So as I mentioned in the beginning of this episode, that this was going to be a 2-part podcast on local legends, past, present, and future with Ronn Jaimz. So with that being said, we still have to talk about the Marshall Project, all right, and the power of attorney, Perry. And I believe you have something instrumental to do with that, and you just want to give us a little tease about that.
No, with power of attorney, I don't have that project came about because Ronn had wrote in his black and white composition books, what he's been having ever since he was cheating in class in school, writing songs. And I remember them books with the songs too.
That's what I think I was telling you about.
That was in the 60s.
All right.
And he had saved all this story about the power of attorney in books. And so he told me about it. Then one day he came and gave me his book. Said, "Look, this is which I'm looking at." I said, "Man, this is a movie."
All right.
And so I gave my partner Jesse, he lived in Seattle. So I told him, "Take this book, man. Look through here. This is some stuff Ronn had, saved." He said he was on a plane on the way back home, and he started reading the book, and he couldn't put it down. And so he developed the whole script from that.
With that being said, that's where we're going to stop for now.
Mm-hmm.
And on the next episode, we'll pick it up from Jesse saying, we got to do something.
Mm-hmm.
Let's make a movie, see what can happen. Ronn, we appreciate you being on Local Legends, past, present, and future. And Perry, obviously, once again, it's good to see you. And we'll be looking to pick this up. So once again, thanks a lot, everyone out there, for being a part of Local Legends, past, present, and future. I'm your guest host, Atlas X, Ronn Jaimz, and Perry Jenkins.
Every time you pass me by, you take my breath away. If I could get to know you, that would really make my day. You have a warm personality, your conversation is sweet, and everybody knows you're a sophisticated lady. Yes, you are, sugar, in a class all by yourself. Sophisticated lady, got it going on. Oh yeah. Now you're not superficial. There's nothing fake about you, girl. The present of success is all over you. Girl, you got it going on. You have a warm personality. Girl, I like your style, and everybody knows you're a sophisticated lady. Yes, you are, sugar, in a class all by yourself. Sophisticated lady, got it going on. Oh yeah. Everybody's complimenting you on how you carry yourself, sugar. Yeah, I do. I wanna be with you. You have a warm personality. Girl, I like your style, and everybody knows you're a sophisticated lady. Yes, you are, sugar. In a class all by yourself, girl. Sophisticated lady, got it going on. Oh yeah. I love everything about you, sugar. I love you from your head down to your toes. Any real man could see it, baby. Right now they wanna be like me. Every day as you pass me by, all I can say is my. Sophisticated lady, got it going on strong. Ooh. I love the way you carry yourself. Oh yeah. You're so sophisticated. What a beautiful lady.